A lot of success in weight loss comes down to your mindset. And I think so many people that I coach now that have the mindset of, well, I'm just big bone, I could never weigh this, or I could never lose this much, is honestly holding them back from getting to the next level.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the DMC Wellness Wave. I'm your host, Matt Dawkins, and as you know, every week we sit down with health-minded businesses. We want to get to know them, and we also want to see what they know that can help you families get and stay healthy. And today we're sitting down with some young leaders doing big things, 212 meal prep. Jason and Jeffrey Jensen, how you guys doing today?
Great.
Fantastic.
Thanks
I'm
for
just
having us.
pumped that you called us young. That made me feel really
Young.
good.
Well, you know, I don't know who's older, but I know early 30s,
33.
33,
Yeah.
About to be 36.
36. So you're on the threshold.
I'm pushing 40 now.
That's a good, 40 is when things start really happening. So the fact that you guys have done so much already in your 30s is insane. Gary Vaynerchuk used to say, best time to go bankrupt is before you're 30. So I don't. Yep.
We're already past it.
Some people, it's trial and error. I feel like watching you guys from the outside in has been trial and success. So we're going to talk about that. I want to know all the failures, and so do the people. So I'm going to make sure we're filming on both sides here. We're good. So as I'm thinking about you guys, I want to get into the backstory. I want to hear about the genesis of 212 meal prep. I want to talk leadership a little bit because I think you guys bring a lot to the table there, probably more than you realize. And then also want this to hit home because I think we have people watching who are on the wrong side of the transformation coming, right? Like they're at that place feeling hopeless, and maybe they stumble upon these wise words and are able to find themselves stepping into the transformation and getting where they really want to be. So let's go back. You guys are Myrtle Beach indigenous, right? Carolina Forest. Natives.
Conway Hospital, born and raised here.
That's crazy.
Both of us, right? Conway. Yeah. Kids, Conway Hospital.
That's
true.
That's not a lot of people could say that. I think about my neighborhood. My neighborhood is like Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Like I love them. They're amazing. But I feel like it's rare to meet somebody these days that's from here. So
No doubt.
You're from here. You Carolina Forest High School.
Yep.
Go Panthers.
Panthers. You know your stuff.
You're like, all right. That's it.
I was there until my junior year. Then I went to the academy for art, science, and technology. So I didn't.
Oh, smart guy.
I didn't get the junior, senior year of like being fired up to be a Panther.
But did you
I
go?
also didn't play sports, so
Okay.
He was much more of the like athletic
Panther pride.
guru, Panther pride.
So
Everyone knew him.
was that like a academic school? I'm assuming.
Kind of.
Or like a you were a bad kid.
No, it was like you went and you had a major.
Like specialized focus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they were doing stuff that was ahead of time, right?
So he did that. You chose to
like entertainment
to stay with the normal
technology.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, just stay in the normal school. Honestly, it was great. It was just sports was easier. It's like for me playing sports at Carolina Forest, you went to school, you went to practice. There you had to commute back and forth. So just how my friends and stuff were still in school at Carolina Forest.
Yeah.
That was so cutting edge back then.
Oh,
having
yeah.
that school, like he went and learned film. I mean, that's kind of
Video
what started,
editing,
right? Video
yeah,
editing, film, and all
cameras.
that. So more specialized, which I think now is pretty common.
Yeah, it's way more common now. And you guys have young kids too. I think about my 7, 5, 3, and 1 year old, who are already feeling pressure with standardized testing and what's my future going to look like. And I just, as a dad, I just want to take all that pressure off them. Just enjoy your life. Somebody's popular.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's my computer.
You're too connected, man.
I know.
You're
Should
too
I shut that
connected.
off real
No,
quick
I
so
don't
we can
care.
get it again?
That's whatever.
Okay.
Keep it real. So you guys decided to leave home. I mean, long ways and go to college, right?
So I went
All the
here.
way to Coastal.
Yeah, so I was coastal. Yeah, so I finished high school. I'll give you my quickly.
All right.
12. So I finished, went to Carolina Forest. Both of us were always like into business stuff. Like I can take you back to when we were kids. We lived right by Conway Hospital. It was Quail Creek. Now it's the Hackler. Like selling golf balls. Our
Yes.
parents would make tea, lemonade. We'd set up stands. So we
We
were always.
we would hide. We were like stealth.
Yeah, we're always intrigued by like money and doing stuff. Our parents own a business, so when we were, I think I was probably 8 or 9 when they took the transition, and my dad was a mailman and my mom was the director at St. James Catholic Church for kids. And they took a leap and went into a business called Gymboree. So they started that. So we started seeing entrepreneurship so early on and just had a taste for it. But all throughout high school, I was always trying to figure out ways to make money. Like I'd bring in snacks and sell them and stuff like that. So I was always intrigued by it. Power bands was college. So I finished school, went to Coastal. I played sports, so I was in love with sports. Got a business degree. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, but then I got hurt, so the sports career ended and started focusing on the money side of things. But I did really well in school. Graduated with like a business degree, honors, and my first job was Pirates Voyage. So that's like the first intro of me.
Were you an acrobat? Were you flying on the...
I dressed as a pirate and served tables. So at the time, I knew people working there as the old Dixie, and they were making like $300, $400, $500 a night. So to me, I was like, I don't care what I have to do. Like, this is the best opportunity. And it was kind of my stepping stone to like, all right, what can I do with this degree? Which around here, there's really not a lot to do with a business degree. Like I could go manage a hotel or something like that, which nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't the aspirations I had. Yeah. So served tables at Pirates Voyage. He was working for my parents. Then he got into network marketing. I saw it from a distance and was like, I don't really know if it's for me. I never heard of it. And this is a very shortened version. But he started having success. I enjoyed Pirates Voyage, great people there, but I also kind of looked around the room. I was one of the youngest people. I was like, I don't want to get stuck here. So then I teamed up with him, started doing that. It was a health and wellness company. It's actually that drink right there. We're still drinking today.
Yes.
But we both, he fell in love with the industry, taught me a ton. I came in, and again, shortened version, but over the next year or two, built it to where I was able to leave Pirates Voyage, focus on that full time. We did that together for probably 6-7 years. And that was just like the main goal. Like we were drinking the Kool-Aid, wanted to make it happen, wanted to be successful, and then that didn't work out. And so we I shouldn't say it didn't work out. The company we were with, there's this whole lawsuit thing. The whole network marketing industry is just a tough industry. Yeah. I stand by it. I think it's a great industry. We have great products. But we weren't able to continue doing what we were doing. It kind of got put on pause. And looking back, it was probably one of the best things that happened, I think, for both of us, because it turned our attention to like, all right, what's next? Like, if this isn't going to be forever, can we build something for ourselves? Like, what are we going to do? And I spent the next probably year and a half hopping around, utilizing what I'd learned. And I bought and sold commodities, worked for a commercial insurance company, did IT recruiting, different stuff. I lived in Raleigh for a little period. And then I came back home, moved home to save money to get married. I met my now wife. And just during this whole process, got married, was doing commercial insurance. He was married, moved to a new house, had their first son, and we were both just fed up with what we were doing from the day to day. So we just talked for months, like, what could we do that could work? And there was also a season where he was doing landscaping. I helped with that. Then I got sick of it. I was like, I don't want to weed whack every day. Like, it's so hot here. So that's a very short version to, he was at a point in his life where he was making health a focus. And that's where 212 started to spawn. We joined ISI, the gyms here. And at the time, Adam Rice was like, they're his gyms. Met him, he was a great guy. And initially, the three of us partnered together to then be able to, sell our meals within those gyms. Now, fast forward, he's no longer a part of this. Like, he's having so much success. Like, it was all a great relationship. But that is how quickly we got to this point. So there is 10 hours of backstory in that.
But, what I don't want to skip by, because I think that for a lot of people in their 20s, they're expecting big paychecks. Realize that one of the biggest paychecks you get in your 20s is experience, right? You talked about hospitality. You talked about, Pirates Voyage. I've taken my family there many times, God bless hospitality because they've made Myrtle Beach the thriving tourist destination that it is, but also the experience that you get in working with people. And in those environments, sometimes tense, irritable people, right? Every now and then, disgruntled customers and the value that comes from that. But then each of those, odd jobs, as you described it, the value that you get in experience. You talk about network marketing. I'm with you on the fact that I've seen people flourish and grow in leadership faster in community, which network marketing provides. Some of the best community you can find are wrapped around business and leadership. So I think, all that value coming into the idea of owning your own business at a scale that you've got brick and mortar, you've got a kitchen, you're doing thousands of meals a day. Sure. I think that's tremendous. So, tell me about, I'm gonna point to you, Jeffrey. Tell me about the name 212 Meal Prep, because I've seen it and it's almost normalized in my mind. Like, 212 Meal Prep. Well, where did 212 come from? What's the significance of the name?
You're saying it right, which is great. Yeah. You're at a great
212. Like, how do you feel?
212 is correct.
So many people say 212.
Okay.
And, it drives us crazy, but no, honestly, when we were first, deciding to start 212, we went back and forth on names, and I don't know. I just always love names that like kind of are weird, or like I didn't want us to be like Carolina Meal Prep or just something that's so blatantly obvious, and
or like geographically stamped. Like
that was my thought. Carolina Meal Prep. I'm a very plain Jane, basic, traditional guy. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And his is more like a Nike view. Like, what does that mean? And, a lot of big brands that have massive success, the name doesn't necessarily mean anything and until it does. Now, ours is kind of twofold because it does mean something, and then now it has become something where people say, oh, did you get your 212? Or, I got my 212 this week. But 212 degrees is the degree that water boils. So it's essentially the degree of change. So before water boils, it's just water. When it boils, it creates steam. The old like it can run a locomotion. Like it is change. It's creating something significant. And so that's kind of what our focus was to be the degree of change. And our first logo actually had a degree sign over the last two. And then when we got to where we had enough brand recognition and we rebranded, we kind of dropped it all because at this point, I don't think many people know that it's 212 degrees and people just call it 212. And that's kind of what we wanted. Yeah. But there is a significant meaning behind it, and that is to be the degree of change. So.
I love that. So I'm in marketing, and I almost hate telling people that I'm in marketing because of the stigma that's on the word, right? Marketers ruin everything. They ruin email. They're ruining social media. But I say that's bad marketing that's doing that. We sort of went back and redefined marketing. Marketing is one who seeks to inspire change. Someone that really, something or someone that evokes a response, right? That it's strategic influence. You guys have positioned yourselves to be strategic influencers in people's whole journey of health and what you're doing in the meals that you're providing. And, in the same way, we wanted to sort of find ourselves in a class of our own and sort of remove ourselves from the noise of the industry. Sometimes, companies feel like, well, how are we going to survive in this market? Because there's so many, the market's saturated, right? You find a way to distinguish yourselves. I now know the reason why it's called 212 Meal Prep, but even before that, you guys had a defining characteristic. You stood out from the rest, so that's amazing. You guys are brothers, and you work together. I mean, probably some weeks, 60, 70, 80 hours a week.
That's a lot.
Do you feel like you have to draw lines between professional and personal, or has it been easy for you guys to navigate business challenge and also just kind of be brothers, enjoying each other's company sometimes?
I feel like we've been doing stuff together for so long. Like we've literally we did network marketing for 7 years where we would travel the country together. We did landscaping together. We've done this now for 7 years. So I feel like, and we're 2 years apart, so we grew up together. So there's like, growing up, we probably fought a lot more, and then until he got bigger than me, and then I was like, that's not going to work out for me, so we'll just become friends. But no, I feel like we're best friends. We have had to have hard conversations before inside of the business, but I think we always put like our brother relationship over everything, and it makes it super simple. And what's really good is we're like polar opposites. So like things that he is phenomenal at, I'm terrible at, and things that I'm great at, he's not good at. And so there's this nice like yin and yang of where we can work really well together, and then hold each other accountable on the things that we're not as good at.
And anything to add there?
No, I was just gonna say, if you can make it work, it's kind of used to discussing for you and your wife, working side by side. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
There's nothing better, and it's kind of this whole intro, even saying like all the random jobs leading up to this, like the story's so long it would take days to tell it. But it's kind of the old adage, like the grass is always greener, right? There's times in the business where if someone's starting out, being on your own, there's moments where that could be exciting, right? When things are going great and you get to make all decisions. But in the same sense, there's plenty of times where it's terrifying. Like having each other is such a blessing because it is such a burden. And what's crazy is as it gets bigger, it becomes harder. not necessarily I'm saying a relationship, but just that kind of weight you feel as the numbers get bigger and $5,000 becomes 50 or 100 and you're owing people money and you have 10 full-time staff and you have hundreds of people counting on your meals and trucks on the road, and it can be a lot. It can be a lot to take on. So having someone to share that with is super helpful and to help kind of carry the burden. And we spend so much time together. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
Is my biggest thing, because to run and own a business with someone is such an intimate thing. I couldn't imagine having someone that I couldn't stand to be around. Like, I know people in business that have issues with their partners, and to be brothers, like, sure, it can have times where it's tougher, but I feel like it grows you more as a person, teaches you like patience, and also just to be accountable. Like, I think that's our biggest thing, and we relay that to our staff as well. Is like, our biggest motto here is we want to leave every person, place, and situation better than we found it. Everyone's going to mess up. He messes up, I'll mess up, staff will mess up. We don't care about that. But it's how do we find, resolutions to those issues. And I think being brothers has taught us to have to do that, where if he was just an employee or vice versa and something went wrong, I could just say, hey, it's not going to work out. We're going to find someone else, cut pay, whatever. This actually makes you go to the root. Like, hey, what's the issue here? What's happening? And I think that reflects really well into the product we produce. And if people ever have issues or problems with it, and then the same way we treat our staff and handle our business and really all of our relationships is we're so transparent and open as you have to be, that I think that, again, just goes so well into everything we do. So I wouldn't change it. It's now, if you had a bad sibling, I could see how it would be hard. And
which is probably most dysfunctional families.
Yeah, and we're a unique family too, right? Because now my parents' business has had a ton of success. They went from having a single daycare center for 20 years to now 3, and our younger brother works for them. His wife, our other younger brother, works for them as well now too. So essentially, the Jensen family, we all are under one roof, if you will. Like, he used to work for my parents. I help them with some real estate stuff and business stuff. So there's really no choice but to make it all work with our family, because that's just how it's always been. But we don't really know anything different.
Man, what a gift.
And it is. It's truly a blessing. The older I get, the fact we can all vacation, the fact we can have these things to talk about, it's the biggest blessing. I think it's the end goal for not everyone, but for a lot of people, is to be able to spend time with family and build something to help your family and your community. Yeah.
I think I heard somebody talk about marriage and how a lot of marriages that struggle, comes down to communication. And there's this reality that when you're at work, you have your business hat on, you're almost performing, right? You're selling, you can close anybody on anything. You get home, there's a level of intimacy when it comes to family. You can't keep that mask on. You can't perform in front of family. They're going to read right through it. And so the advantage that I see in brothers owning a business together is you guys can't not keep it real with each other. You can try, to put on a face, but you guys have known each other long enough and have such a great relationship that you can see right through it. And I think it may be a plug for partnership, for families to partner, but I think there's a lot more that you guys have that we don't have time to talk about. I think that really makes this business special and the relationship special. You guys have overcome a lot. And as I'm thinking about what you've overcome over the years, Jeffrey, I want to get in your story a little bit, because you have had quite the transformation. And I think a lot of people on the outside looking in won't believe it when they hear it, but if you have the ability to give us a little bit of the backstory for you were 365 pounds, and we saw the scale gave out, and you said there's something, I got to do something, I got to make a change, and you've now lost 160 pounds. Talk about where your mind was when you realized you needed to make a change, and then walk us forward.
For sure. Well, I think you go back to the start of 212, and that was kind of the reason that we even started this company. Was I had recently sold my landscaping company to another company. I was working for that company, kind of running it, and that is when Jason was doing commercial insurance, and that's when we both were kind of like at a point in our life where we weren't working for ourselves anymore, and we were both just miserable. And in that season of life, I think I was there for like 3 years. That is when I put on like most of the weight. We always grew up like big guys, like, right? We got a big family. The old adage of like, oh, we're just big bone, like, which is not true. So if you're watching this, you're not big bone, you're just fat, and we can help you get in shape, but no one's just big boned. But I always
just setting yourself up for
Respect.
your transformation. Getting yourself ready.
It's but it's true because I think a lot of success in weight loss comes down to your mindset. And I think so many people that I coach now that have the mindset of, well, I'm just big bone, I could never weigh this or I could never lose this much, it's honestly holding them back from getting to the next level. And we can dive more into that. But so starting 212, I gained an astronomical amount of weight. I was driving around in a truck all day. I wasn't being active anymore. My excitement came from where I was eating lunch, where I was grabbing breakfast, and just became this really poor relationship with food. And so decided to start 212. I've got a culinary background, so I started prepping stuff for myself at home. He was like, hey, could you make some stuff for me? That looks really good. And that kind of spawned the idea of, all right, we're both sick and tired of doing what we're doing. Maybe this is our shot to do something together again. And that kind of kicked off 212. And so for the first few years, I ate our food. I was at the gym, 4 or 5 days a week. I lost weight. I got all the way down to like 247 pounds.
So that's like 115, 120 pounds.
Roughly about 100 pounds lost. And then when COVID hit, it was just such a stressful time. I can just remember like we probably had like 5 or 6 phone calls of like, hey, this might be the last week. Like we might not make it after this week. And we were hemorrhaging like $12,000-$15,000 a week just from not even being open. That was just our overhead. Gyms were shut down. A majority of our market is Charlotte, and so Charlotte was shut down way harder than anywhere in South Carolina. So I remember we were literally driving a truck every Monday morning, 3.5 hours, parking in parking lots so people could come pick up their meals because gyms were closed. It was just such a crazy time, and I remember going back to food, right? I just started eating again and just doing the whole like, I do well Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then just destroy myself Friday, Saturday, Sunday with pizza, beer, whatever it was. And fast forward to 2021, I turned 33, and I started having all these like random episodes where I would black out. One was with him in Charlotte. I remember him being like, dude, what is happening? Like I couldn't get out of the bed in the hotel. Just crazy stuff. My wife's a nurse. Of course, I didn't tell her any of this was going on because why would you do that? And so one day, I'm at the house. She had to go to a branch that she was working with about an hour away. I had our kids, and I went to get up. I was supposed to get them ready for school, and I physically couldn't get out of bed. Started having like anxiety, ended up blacking out. And long story short, I had to call her and say, like, this is what's been going on. I'm not sure why. She had to rush home. My mother-in-law came to get the kids. Next thing you know, we're on the way to the hospital. Get to the hospital, do all the checks. Long story short, my blood pressure was 180 over 120, which if you're watching this and you know what that means, that's not good.
Not good.
So obviously I had gained like all the weight back. So it was super, super overweight again. Blood pressure was through the roof. And that was kind of my like first wake up call of like, hey, you own a meal prep company. You're out there telling people they need to be healthy. And here you are, you're a hypocrite, it's not working out, and now you're in the hospital at 33 with all these, underlying conditions that are basically self-induced. Mm-hmm. And so I remember telling him, like, hey, I've got to do something. And so we set up a little gym inside the office. We hired a trainer, and he would come 3 days a week, and we started working out. And I was still lying to myself, right? So, like, I'd come do the workouts, I'd eat 212 most of the time, but then I was still, like, rewarding myself. It would still be like, all right, you did really good this week, have a cheat meal.
What was the cheat meal?
Probably pizza.
Pizza?
It always seems to be pizza. Pizza's like our go-to.
That's a great one.
And so fast forward to October. So March to October, not a whole lot of success. Maybe 10 pounds. And in October of 2021, we were at an event that we do every year called Beers and Burpees in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we were setting up our booth, and some guys from the company First Form, which is a big supplement company, came by, and they were so nice. I remember us like looking at each other afterwards and being like, what is wrong with these guys? Like, they literally came over there
just
like,
impressed.
Hey, can we help you guys set up? Like, do you need anything? And I'm just like, who are these guys? Like, they were so nice and so like willing to serve that it almost caught me off guard. And the rest of that day, we ended up connecting with them, and we spent all day kind of back and forth between our booth and their booth, just talking. Anytime we had downtime where people weren't coming to check us out, we were talking, and I remember telling one of the guys, I said, I'm just so not nervous, but I'm just so like off put with social media because here I am, I'm a fat guy that owns a meal prep company, and I don't want to be on social media telling you to order my food. I don't want to be at events. I remember even being at that event being like, hey, do I just look big, or like, do I look fat? And, he's always kind. He's just like, oh, you just look thick, man. You just look built, And the guy said to me, he's like, have you ever heard Andy Frisella's story, which is the owner of First Form? And I said, no. And he said, well, just so you know, he was 350 pounds, super overweight, selling supplements and speaking to tens and thousands of people at conferences about self-discipline. Mm. And it just clicked for me. I was like, holy cow, like here's a guy in the industry who's way bigger than I am, who's getting paid millions of dollars to share, how to become successful. And he's super overweight. And so
when you heard that, did you feel like it let you off the hook a little bit? Or do you feel like it convicted you, like I got to do something? Because it almost feels like well, if he can do it, I can do it.
I think so. Hearing the first part of that story, I think because I follow Andy, and Andy's in really good shape. So, if I wouldn't have known he was in really good shape, I'm not sure how it would have made me feel. But what it made me feel was, okay, here was a guy who wasn't in good shape, who then figured out something to change his life. All right, what are the missing pieces for me, and how did he do it? And so on the ride home, we started listening to his podcast. I found out about 75 Hard, which is a program that he created. It's a mental toughness program. And we got back into town, and 2 days later, I was sitting in my office. I was by myself. I was listening to one of his podcasts on 75 Hard. And I just had this, like, aha moment of, like, if you don't make a change, you're going to end up dying. Like, you're going to end up in a really bad spot. And I remember I texted my wife, and I said, hey, I'm going to do this thing called 75 Hard. Would love for you to do it with me, but if you don't want to, I just need some support. And that was it. I ended up doing 75 Hard. I have never been in front of people without a shirt on. The only person who'd ever seen me shirtless from the age of probably 15 until 33 was my wife. Even Jason and I would travel together. I'd change in the bathroom, like just was always that guy. And so I knew doing 75 Hard that I was going to post a before and after picture. And so I went as hard as I possibly could because I was so afraid of what that picture was going to look like that I was like, I have to kill myself so that at least I know at the end of the day when I post this picture, I have no shame, I have no guilt, like I gave it my all. And that's what really changed everything for me. Having that mental shift changed my entire life. It changed the trajectory of everything that we're doing. And it's crazy. I did 75 Hard. I went on to do the entire Live Hard program, which is a year of different stuff, and then fell in love with bodybuilding and competed twice last year, ended up winning like a really big international bodybuilding show, became a sponsored athlete for a company, and it's been a very, very humbling and crazy journey from the transformation side of things, and just seeing how many people we've inspired from our story. And it's hilarious. I didn't even tell him this yet, but we're literally flying back from Houston on Saturday, and I'm getting on the airplane. My wife's in front of me. I'm in sweats. I have a hat on, and there's a couple in first class. And we're sitting like all the way in the back of the plane, and we're like, it's like, bumper to bumper. People are trying to load the airplane, and they're talking to each other, and they keep making eye contact with me, and then talking to each other. And the wife is like, it's definitely them. It's so awkward because I'm like, they're clearly talking about us, and they keep going back and forth, and we finally get to where we're right next to them, and she just like reaches over and she's like, I just have to tell you, I've been following your journey for the last 2 years, and it's blown my mind, and we started ordering 212, and we love your food, and it's all. And I was like, it was such a full circle moment.
Famous.
Like, I'm literally in Houston. There's people on this plane that are from Charlotte that found us on social media, started eating our food, and like now we've inspired them. So such a cool thing to be a part of. And yeah, we sat down and I was like, does this make us influencers now? Like,
that's right.
This is super weird.
You are famous. But that's incredible.
So it's been fun, and obviously now being in shape and owning a meal prep company is even more fun because now we get to actually help people and show them what's possible when you do take your health and nutrition and fitness seriously. So.
Yeah, I personally love to see it when someone's struggle becomes their sort of way forward. When your misery becomes your ministry, as we would say at church, when you have something in your life, this pivotal moment that you're able to take learn from it, and then help other people do the same thing. We are going to talk more about this on the next episode. We're going to get back together and we're going to talk about that. There is so much more there. We're going to end on that. Chef Jeff, Chef Jason in the house. Appreciate you guys. Yeah. That's something to it. Something to it. Hold on to that. It's probably trademarked somewhere, but I'm going to go ahead and claim it right now, Chef Jeff. Let's call it there. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Let's keep the wave of wellness going, and we'll see you on the next episode.